This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
I like it.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios, and we're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors, and we leave our music choices up to our producer, so I'm not taking any credit for that one, okay? Let's hear now from the Community Associations Institute. The CAI Minute is brought to you by Start to Finish Maintenance Contractors. Start to Finish provides 24-hour service for all of your home and business maintenance needs. Call Start to Finish at 952-259-1219 for your home, for your business, for your peace of mind.
Are you a volunteer in your homeowner association? Maybe a residential property manager wanting to increase your industry knowledge and obtain professional credentials in property management. Are you a vendor or professional offering services to homeowners and associations or property managers? If you said yes to any one of those questions, then join the Community Association Institute. The CAI is a great organization, helping you be informed and more proficient in your homeowner association board member or property manager role. It's also a great way to network with potential clients. For nearly 40 years, CAI has provided education and resources to volunteer homeowners who govern community associations and the professionals who support them. Visit cai-mn.com to learn more. That's cai-mn.com. The Minnesota chapter of CAI holds monthly managers' luncheons, board member education training, property manager certification training, and much more. It also produces a bi-monthly informative magazine called Minnesota Community Living. Why not join the Community Association Institute today? You can do so online at cai-mn.com and select membership.
So in homeowners association management, we often compare the organization of the community with a city government.
Exactly.
And yet there are some very big differences between the two.
I think there is. Would you agree with that?
Or is to be honest, I've read this article. It's kind of like, it's a little bit splitting hairs, I think. Because, a little bit. Because in my mind, I don't think about these more lofty political questions. I can see what the differences are. The government cannot be disassembled or disbanded unless, of course, there's a revolution.
Yeah.
And a community association can be because it's a contractual basis, you said. But still, it would be pretty revolutionary, don't you think, if a community association decided to disband?
Well, yes, it is, and it's a very hard thing to do, but they can because it's based on a contract, because a homeowner association, its continued existence wholly depends on the collective will of the members of that association. There's no assurance that it'll continue on. It is only those people that have the right to say will continue to exist or not. It's just like any other business. I own a business with several other business partners.
Sure.
And as long as we continue to band together, that will be in existence. That can change in membership, or it could disband. A government is a different thing, where I think the distinction is probably important to be made, because you have people at the legislature that are looking at this thing called a homeowners association, and because they don't understand it, they end up with laws that go into existence with unintended consequences that really make it difficult, and they make things, they kind of muck things up.
Do you think it's because they're looking at it as though it were a city government?
I think so, and in some ways you need to, for example, to say that a homeowner association has too much power. We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But by the same token, it is government-like in that the association may be charged with the responsibility of a private street, a street that the homeowner association would prefer to give to the city.
And let the
city
plow
it?
Because
Why don't you
every
take care
home in that association is paying taxes.
Yes.
Property taxes. So so most associations would say, hey, we would like our taxes to pay our
So now if you say to that association, because it's a private street, so it's smaller, and that's the only one of the few reasons why the city doesn't take care of it, because it's not as wide, so you can't get some of the city trucks and vehicles through. Number two, it wasn't made with the same grade of strength. The bituminous underlayment is not the same, so it can't hold the same weight.
Yeah.
So there's issues. So that's why it's a city street, a private street. But now the association has to maintain it. But if the association doesn't maintain it, and they allow people to park wherever they wish, what happens the first time a fire truck or an ambulance needs to come through and they can't get through? Mm-hmm. Who gets sued? Who's responsible? Mm-hmm. And so to say to a homeowner association, we're going to give you authority on one hand, or responsibility on one hand, but a lot of legislatures now want to remove that authority. They want to do that in Minnesota. This year we're going to see some form of, it was Senate File 926 that's going to come up once again, and one of those provisions clearly states that a homeowner association should have its enforcement, its authority to enforce the governing documents, the rules and regulations by fining someone, and then being able to secure a lien and foreclose would be taken away.
Okay. All right. So the state still wants the association to have all this responsibility, but they want to take away some of their authority.
Yes.
Would we be better off if the state saw community associations as corporations, as private, nonprofit corporations?
I think so. If they truly did, the first thing is there would be a lot less interference or intervention of any type, because what takes place between contractual law, between
the parties of
that contract,
right?
It's between them.
That's right.
It's none of our business.
And truthfully, it is a nonprofit corporation. We're not asking the state to look at it to skew the definition.
No.
It is a nonprofit corporation.
It is, exactly. Mm-hmm. And again, what right do we have to say, if if you own a property, what right do I have to tell you when you'll change the carpeting, when you'll paint, when you'll do things? I have no right to do that. That's
a distinction this article makes, that private property rights are higher than community rights in a homeowners association. And it's just the opposite in a government.
Yes.
In a government, the good of the public supersedes the good or the rights of the individual.
Yes, and because of what's called the common good, the good of the majority with the government, there is a supremacy that the government has that an association does not.
Right.
And so that they demonstrate, a government demonstrates that in two ways. Number one is what's called the power to tax.
Okay, right. They get to tax us.
They get to tax. A federal government gets to tax us. A state government taxes. A city government gets to tax us.
And our taxes pay for our government and pay for our streets, generally pay for our schools, pay for our library. So the analogy we draw, the similarity is the homeowners association assesses fees every month to pay for lawn care, to pay for snow removal, to pay for exterior maintenance sometimes, to pay for the swimming pool, the tennis court, blah, blah, blah.
But the difference is a government has the ability of what's called eminent domain. They say in our best thinking, even though you have a thriving business located in that location with that building right now
on Excelsior and Highway 100,
we have the ability to through eminent domain to take over that property. That's something that an association can't do. You can't just take. And so you
can't just say, you know what, we want to put the tennis court here, so we're going to take because it would be for the good of all to have a tennis court here. And so we're going to take your townhouse.
Yeah, but with city government, what's interesting is over the years, people have understood that when a hospital needs to be built, a school or a new highway needs to go through.
Freeway needs to be widened.
But now governments are taking eminent domain, and this would be an interesting show in the future.
Okay.
And that would be dealing with how in the past few years, there have been cases where eminent domain has meant that they have taken away property only to put in a different type of property to allow someone else own it because they can get a bigger tax break. base.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
So we don't want your little hardware store there, because if we allow ABC Corporation to build a 6-story building, they'll pay more property taxes.
And of course, with a homeowner association, with contract law, you have something that goes back to how people relate, and you have things that can be changed probably a little bit more easily, but rightfully so, because you're dealing with a smaller group.
He does describe a homeowners association as a true grassroots democracy, because the members all have to make some of the decisions.
It is at its best, to be sure. There's so much more. I think this is fascinating, just to think about.
I think your professorly side is coming out with this, Gene.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's all the time we have today, folks. We're so glad you were with us. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We look forward to having you here once again next week on Where You Live with Gene and Tony. See you then.